Test, test, test.
Test, test, test. They got that at the very beginning. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ace Trader Podcast, episode number 14. Yes, we're in the dark. It's pretty late. Normally do this in the morning.
Really?
And I look sick as a dog, because I am. I'm currently a little bit under the weather. I just came back from Korea, from Achilleos Cass' wedding. It was a good time. I missed him and his wife, and it was a good time seeing them. But I am now a little bit ill. Classic. You travel, and then you get sick. It's not epic. I'm isolating in my room currently. But yeah, it was a good time. Rose, obviously, Scarlet, Violet came out the other day. I'm going to preface this episode real quick. I've not played it yet. I've been traveling and have not had the chance to play it. So yeah, well, I'm going to lean heavily on you this episode because we're going to be going through like first impressions. What are people thinking? I've watched a ton of content though. Wolfie Glick and JRose11. I've been watching him on YouTube. So yeah, I did want to show you. I just showed Rose. But I wanted to show everybody a Pokemon trading card shop in Korea that I went to. It got recommended to me by Stephen Kim, who was a member of one of an Overwatch League team, a general manager for NYXL back in 2019, 2018. He is now head of Rio Company, which is like a talent agency for a lot of Korean esports players. And he recommended me I go to this shop. So I did. So it was pretty sick. I've never been into a Korean trading card shop before, although I have once, but it wasn't like a Pokemon one. It was like Magic the Gathering focused, so it was pretty sick. So I'm gonna quickly give you the Google tour kind of thing with four photos that I took. So I feel awkward taking photos. So you kind of come in, it's all like lit up like this, and there's like an embossed kind of sign on the front door, which was pretty sick. For our audio listeners, I apologize. Rest in peace. But oh, it's in Yeoksam. If you are there, it's in Yeoksam, 3rd floor of this apartment building. Worth just kind of Googling Pokemon card shop if you can in Korean and use Naver maps to kind of find your way in. You kind of go in. There's a ton of tables literally everywhere. A giant light up like backlit Pokemon card on the wall. It's very, how would you call it? Stylized, I guess would be the word. Yes,
it's very card shop, but like
yes.
you can tell it is for Pokemon. Like I think the first thing that stuck out to me were that the felt top tables are just they're customly designed to have like your bench, your prize cards, your draw and discard. I think that's so cool to have it outlined like that.
It is very cool. Yeah, they were all like custom made, so like perfectly fit these tables, and you can just rock up. I rocked up half an hour early, and they weren't open, so I was just kind of chilling. Went to a CU, got a drink. But yeah, that kind of sucked, but it was fine. I ended up coming back about 20 minutes later, and they were opened up, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think it's sick. I didn't realize how big Pokemon was in Korea, and I don't think it's massive. But this store specifically sells Pokemon cards. It has Magic the Gathering cards too, but it's mainly Pokemon. All the walls look like this, what I've got on the screen right now, which is kind of an embossed like energies and like Pokemon card game like everywhere. It was really sick. They had these big framed pieces on the walls, on some of the other walls too, that had like a ton of cards. Like I said, I would have taken more photos, but I felt kind of awkward. Like foreigner man in card shop taking photographs. I'm sure they get a lot of it, but I just felt too awkward to take more. And I did pick up some Pokemon cards as well. I'll quickly show you guys. I did pick up some booster packs, so it's pretty cool. I'm pretty sure these are Vivid Voltage. Rose can't see right now, but and some Diamond and Pearl from the Hisuian region. Oh man, I forget, but they're based on the Japanese versions of boosters. But the cards are like the Japanese cards, but they have the English back, which I always found quite funny. So they're literally like the in-between of like English and the Japanese cards. They have the English back, but the Japanese fronts. Yeah, it's and the Japanese packs, which are really small. This is VMAX Rising. It literally just says Rising on the front. Lighting, VMAX Rising. So that's pretty cool. I picked up 3 booster packs of those and a couple other ones, and I picked up Magic cards too. But it was pretty sick. But that is that is what I did in Korea. I went to a Pokemon trading card shop. It was a good time.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
Wedding and cards.
I had to seek one out. I had to. There was a couple of people when I went in there that was kind of playing around too, which is kind of sick. Clearly had come for that specific store just to play some Pokemon cards together, so that was pretty
That is
cool.
so awesome.
And yeah, like I said, not sure how big Pokemon is in Korea, but it's getting there by the looks of it, which is really great. Okay, let's swiftly move on, Rose. I've already talked enough. You have spoken 3 words, which I don't want to become too much of a theme. Let's go into some news that we covered a few weeks ago, and it is the prize packs from attending some of the Play Pokemon events. And this is the packs that were sampled or like are gonna get given out, and we finally get to see what they look like in person.
Yeah, so it's interesting because every Play Pokemon event that you attend will give you some type of promo card, or they're supposed to, that can help you to remember the event. So usually it is like a trainer card that has a special emblem on it that says like regional, or is the logo for an international competition or worlds. And this past year for the 2022 season, it was all different variations of bosses orders. So Cyrus, Lysander, you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, all the
But it's
bosses
usually just a
orders.
single card.
But this is a random booster pack, which is quite cool.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent. In fact, it's like version 2 of the Pop series packs from way back when, or what I could assume would be the kind of the modern version of that, I suppose.
Mhm.
One thing I've just noticed, actually, I cannot tell you right now, and I know unless I'm gonna quickly scan through. Does it mention anything about the actual packs themselves? Is it me, or do the packs look like the paper packs? Could be wrong.
No, they do look like paper. They literally look like the paper packs that you get from the McDonald's,
Yes.
special set.
Man, I am not a fan of the paper packs because unless they make them super thick paper, because in the Pokemon one with the McDonald's, like you said, you could shine a light through the paper and see what cards are inside, which was a problem. It's not supposed to be a problem because they're supposed to be given out to children, but you know how it be with Pokemon and collecting and sealed product. Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping that that's not the case and it's maybe thicker cardboard that you can't see the cards. But they've gotten a lot of reprints here that are staples to the actual game, Rose.
Yeah, they do. I mean, this is kind of interesting because it's basically just like reprints of a bunch of the Sword and Shield sets, but I don't know how the breakdown is actually going to work. But it seems like there's gonna be multiple series in which they do print things like Air Balloon, Fog Crystal. Those are item cards that have been used a ton in the standard format. And then, like, some of these pictures show off Drizzile, and that's another one that is like really important. The Intellion line is so good as a search engine for your deck. So it's just neat to see that you can actually use these cards as pieces of a standard deck, and like I really want that Leafeon VMAX.
Yeah, I was gonna say if any card's gonna speak to you, it would be the Leafeon one for sure. They got the little competitive or like play Pokemon little symbol, which is kind of neat. Is that Leafeon VMAX used a lot? Because I'd assume they'd want to add like a chase card in there, of course, right? And I feel like
Ooh,
maybe
yeah.
they'd add like an evolution would make the most sense, but
Well, if it's all of the Sword and Shield sets, then I feel like Evolving Skies would definitely be a part of this.
yeah.
Because I know that's where this Leafeon is from, but then like, did they do Glaceon? Like, are the all of the EV Max evolutions in here? I guess time will tell. Um, according to the rest of the article, it looks like there will be a second series released in February of 2023. But then I'm
Yes.
sat here as a VG player, like I haven't been able to go to any events, and I want these cards.
Yeah.
So like,
I
I keep series one coming for just a little longer.
I wonder how often they're gonna. Oh no, how many they're gonna like throw at people? That's my big question. I also like as a small thing, 6 additional prize packs, and it's called a prize pack. Obviously, 6 prize cards on the field, which is quite neat. It would make sense to do that number, but I thought that was kind of a cool thing. It's also going to be 200 reprinted cards, so that's a lot of reprints, like an absolute ton.
And that's just one series though too.
Yeah,
So that's one 6-month period will be 200,
which
and
is
then they'll do
crazy.
another set.
Which screams to me that they're just going to be
Wild.
throwing these at people. Like,
I
absolutely
yeah.
throwing them. And I kind of hope that's the case too, especially for, like, competitive cards, like you were saying, like Air Balloon,
Yeah.
Fog Crystal, etc. These cards, they're uncommons, I suppose, in the actual game, or, like, the actual, like, sets and stuff. But if you can get more of them in circulation, it's better for the player base as a whole. And they're obviously a little bit special because they have the little stamp too, but yeah, getting more in circulation is going to be nice. Yeah, you can't really complain there. So 6 cards, 7 if you include the code card, which reminds me, TCG Live, I believe the beta's out now, but you can migrate your account. I would look up some of the restrictions on migration. Apparently, you'll lose some cards, maybe. So look that up if you haven't done already. But yeah, that's it, really. There's really not much more to discuss. One of the holo slots can contain a Pokemon V Max basic energy or special energy, which is kind of neat. So you do get a big chance there. And honestly, pimping your deck out, who doesn't love to do that with holo energies? Let's be real. Let's be real.
I feel like people could there are definitely people out there that run the most expensive version of every card. So
1000%.
I'm talking like the secret energies, so like the gold background with the symbol on it.
There's no
It goes
way people
crazy.
haven't done that. There's
Oh
absolutely
yeah,
no way. And like all old energies are legal, right? Because they're just energy cards. So I'm
yeah.
thinking, do you remember the Heart Gold Soul Silver energies that were full art and they had the Pokemon on them? Like the Darkness energy had Umbreon and
Oh
stuff like that. There's got to be some
yes.
dude out there, some person that has an absolute pimped out deck with all those energies. There's absolutely no way. If you got a competitive deck, I mean, you can also chop and change the energies, right? Into newer.
Yeah.
It's not like you need to update energies. So yeah, there's no way someone hasn't got like an absolute pimped out deck. Okay, enough of that. Enough of that. We'll get into the Scarlet and Violet stuff in just a second. But first, I thought I'd bring up another 2 Pokemon that haven't really been featured in, like, they have, but not like, whoa, look at me cards. But they finally get their time to shine, quite literally, with Lunatone. Lunatone and, oh, sorry, no, Solrock, sorry, my bad. Solrock and Lunatone getting the art cards, the full arts, which is quite neat.
They look great too. I mean, it's kind of interesting to see that they've paired them also with like Illumise and Volbeat that I feel like are
Yeah.
2 Pokemon that also don't get much love, but are considered regional variants too. Uh yeah. Kind of weird. Kind of dig it.
Yeah, the cards honestly scream Gen 3 to me because the amount of times I'd run into Volbeat and Illuminize, insane
Yeah.
amounts. And then Solrock or Lunatone, I'd always want them because they're actually, oh my god, okay, they actually spawn near the same place, right? I'm trying to think at the top of my head, can't really think of the actual town right now, but the route leading to the caves where Lunatone and Solrock are in Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, they actually spawn on that route, so it's kind of neat, kind of cool, and obviously Lunatone in the moonlight and Solrock in the dusk by the looks of it. So yeah, pretty cool. Pretty interesting Pokemon as a whole, I will say. Interesting looking was, you kind of look back, I think a lot of the old Pokemon, you're like, wait, what? They look like this.
Yeah.
Voltorb is a Pokeball, you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
Slugma is just a pile of molten lava, okay? Like, and then people complain about, like, okay, I am the one that complains about Trubbish and stuff like that, you know? He's just a pile of rubbish. And then you also have Grimer, who is literally sludge. So, you know, yeah.
Just wait till we talk about the Scarlet and Violet Pokemon. Those are going to be trippy.
They're wacky. They're wacky is all I can say. Speaking of which, let's move swiftly on. Let's talk about Scarlet and Violet. First impressions, Rose. Like I said before, haven't played the game yet because I've been busy. I need to actually just pick up my Switch and actually play it. That would help. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But let's go over first impressions because there has been quite the back and forth between a lot of people online, because we'll start off with a bit of a negative to start. The game itself, not that well optimized for the Switch. Can be quite laggy in certain areas, and you don't really want that for a mainline Pokemon game, like boom, new Pokemon, epic storylines, etc. And it's a bit laggy.
Yeah, I would say that there are definitely some bugs and lag to the current iteration of the game. The lag a little bit more noticeable just for how long some of the loading screens take in terms of going into cutscene or coming out of a cutscene. But I think that the glitches and the bugs in the game are so funny. Like the content that people have been pushing out from random things that happen in their game is some of the funniest things I've ever seen. So I don't personally care about the bugs and the glitches because it doesn't take away from my overall experience of playing the game. And in fact, I think in some cases it enhances it.
Yeah,
'Cause
that is
who
one good way to
doesn't
look at it.
love like who doesn't love like a random Pokemon just like flying up into the sky into oblivion? Like that just happens sometimes. Like what are you gonna do? Except sit there and just kind of laugh at it.
Yeah, as long as they're not game breaking. I mean, that's the big thing, right? If they're just
They're
like
not.
funny, like, yeah, weird animation glitches or
Yeah.
whatever, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, and those kind of things can be smoothed out. Yeah, I wouldn't be too bothered either, to be honest with you. In fact, the funniest bug I'd seen, I'm not going to be able to pull up the tweet now because I only just thought about it, was the new form Ditto appearing beneath somebody as it like broke free
Oh,
from a Pokeball,
wait,
and it
hold on.
looks
I have it. No,
okay.
stop. I have
You've
it.
got it.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah,
looks
I'm about to
very
link it.
sus.
Oh, it's so funny. So it's Wiglet, and if you don't know what Wiglet looks like yet, it's Diglett but longer and
Diglett but
white.
longer. Perfect.
And that this is like one of the funnier glitches. Like you're trying to catch a Wiglet, you're standing in front of a trainer because as you enter a battle, the world around you doesn't dissolve and it just becomes you and the thing in front of you. It's all encompassing. So like you can see Pokemon walking around, they'll watch your battle, and they'll just kind of be there hanging out. So this clip is hilarious because of
Literally
where
hanging out.
and then it
He's
like attacks and I can't. That's what I mean though. It's not game breaking. It's hilarious. It's
yeah.
just fun.
He do be just hanging out. That is the yeah. That is ridiculous. One of the more ridiculous bugs I've seen for sure. I mean,
Oh,
yeah, no game breaking, but
nope,
hilarious, and that's the point, right? Like you said, it's as long
exactly.
as they don't corrupt your save or whatever, like who cares?
I will say there have been reports of people's games crashing, and so
Mhm.
that is not good. You know, they do have the autosave feature, so you can keep that turned on if you're worried about it, but all of the actual, like, maybe game play issues, like lag or just the random shut off, I think it's patchable. Like, I'm gonna hold out hope that Game Freak, Nintendo, whoever can just send out some type of downloadable patch and fix it. Because people have been saying something about a cache issue, and seems like
Okay.
that's something on the server end that might be fixed, but I'm not an expert on that. I'm just being hopeful.
Yeah, we lucky we live in a day and age, or maybe not so lucky. It's kind of difficult to say, but like we don't exist in a world where it is almost impossible to patch things. I
Yeah,
look at Red and Blue. Like the amount of bugs in that game is insane. Although a lot of them are under the surface, not all of them is mechanics based. So people at that point were like,
true.
"Well, that's just how the game works." You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah,
1 in 256 miss glitch, like that kind of thing. That's like, my god, like those kind of bugs, like the 1 in 256 glitch, is like, they basically just didn't put an equal sign, which is insane. It just reminds me of like when I was in university doing like games programming
a
and stuff, and
comma
literally it was
versus
just like,
dot.
yeah, exactly, like it's like less than
Just a
256,
syntax
but it's
thing,
like
yeah.
so that it doesn't include 236 kind of thing. So every time it or two 256, not 236, sorry, 256. But
Yeah.
all they need was an equal, so it also counted the 256 rather than just like everything but that one number, which is why the bug exists. So like, or 255, 256. You understand what I mean? They didn't put an equals,
Yes.
so it didn't include that last digit. So like, those kind of bugs and stuff actually are really funny to me in that way. But a lot of people just kind of thought that's how the game existed. Obviously now we get Nintendo Switches and just every game console under the sun being able to connect to the internet and download a patch. I do remember at one point, oh man, this is gonna break my brain. There was one Pokemon game you could send into the Nintendo company to patch the game, and I think it was Emerald. I could be wrong, but
It was definitely one of the earlier generations
it
of
was definitely one of the
games.
cartridge games, 1000%. But you could send your
Yeah.
game in to get patched, or like, yeah, something along those lines. But like, what I'm trying to say is, it's easier stuff to patch now, which is great. But
Yep.
it does also give devs a little bit of an excuse to kind of push out a broken product and then patch it later down the line, which we've seen a lot in gaming, like Cyberpunk, for
Cyberpunk.
example.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
although, honest, it's the same thing with Cyberpunk for me. I played through the game. I love that game. I love Cyberpunk aesthetic and the world and that kind of stuff. And it's the same with Pokemon here. As long as it doesn't destroy my save or like just blow up my Switch, I don't really care that much. Like you said,
I think,
it's kind of fun.
like, where the disappointment, I think, comes into play is you see how games like Breath of the Wild got treated by Nintendo, and I think that when you look at the overall hierarchy of, how these games are developed for Pokemon, it's definitely a little bit different. Game Freak is involved, and that's a kind of a separate company, but like also not. And I think that gets a little in the weeds. And I'm not an expert on that. I'm not going to talk about it, but I do think that when you have other open world games like Breath of the Wild that has so much visual polish to it, it's a little difficult, I think, to not compare apples to oranges. But when you think about the ginormous step that Pokemon took to have an open world game where everywhere you look is just a continuous like field of view. Like I remember I was in one part of the map and I was just looking out to another section, still pretty far away, but I could see one of the Titan Pokemon just walking around. What?
Which is
Like
insane, yeah.
that's insane. And that's not something that would have ever been achievable even in like Arceus. Like Arceus already had a bunch of different like spawn points. So like if you went back to Jubilife City, that's different. Or like if you went out to a different area of the the wild, like you can't continuously go from one area to another.
It's the load
I think
zones.
it's a big deal.
Like, you...
Yes, yes.
And like, maybe that's where they push themselves too far, you know what I mean? Like, being devil's advocate here. Like, do you need
Mm.
to be like The Witcher, Oblivion, for example? Like, Oblivion, Jesus Christ. Skyrim, sure. I prefer Oblivion, just saying. But do you need that kind of consistent world? You do hit load zones in those games, but they load and then obviously play on PC, right? So it's very different. But
You
although
have
you can
such
play
a
Skyrim on
more
Switch,
powerful computer.
exactly,
So,
exactly. So it's like, did they
yeah.
stretch themselves a
Mhm.
little bit too far having a continuous world? Because in general, like, you only want to render as much as the player can see. But if you can see that far, you need to render that far. A lot of things will end up like popping in with like most games. A good example is like Battle Royales. The whole map needs to be loaded in to a certain extent. But like when you scope in, you look all the way across the map, things will pop in because they don't need to be loaded because your view distance isn't that very far. So
Well,
like,
that's still how it is. I think the
it
Titan
is.
Pokemon was a little bit of a bad example because I feel like it's so ginormous that you should be able to see it from wherever you are on the map. But like if you I want to say like if you're 10, 20 paces away from a Pokemon and you start moving, like the models will just pop up on the map. Like in front of you, but they won't be there if you were to look like 50, 60 feet out,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it really comes down to the limitations of the Switch. Like that's what it
Yes,
comes
I
down
I
to.
do think yeah, that is
Yeah.
true.
And like,
I don't
it's
know.
whether they can
Mhm.
kind of patch that, because I don't think people are that, they don't care that much
Yeah.
about things popping in like dude, if you care about that, like, you got other worries to worry about, you know what I mean? At the end
I
of the
think those
day,
are the type of people that just like to complain.
exactly, exactly. And
So
it's, I do understand the, like, lag, though. Like,
there
we are
are
so,
justifiable criticisms.
yes, at this point in time, like, we are so used to how buttery smooth things can be, even on the
Yep.
Switch, which on its release wasn't like the most powerful bit of hardware possible, you know, but it's still like a powerful piece of kit. Like in your hand, a screen that size, especially on the OLED version too, like a
Oh,
screen
yeah.
that size, that rich, like there is a lot that goes into that machine. And
It's
we
true.
are we are nearing the point of the Switch's life cycle where you're thinking, do they just do a Switch 2 that just beefs up the CPU, the RAM, and like everything inside the graphical capabilities, the GPU inside it too? Because Pokemon's coming up to that point now, I think, where you're like, okay, now we just need a little bit more from another Switch. Like we need a little bit more, please, just to give us that edge in like creating a game. You know what I mean? So I'm curious if we're just kind of we're on the precipice of getting another version of a Switch which is more powerful, which will be able to just show off Pokemon in all its glory. Because I think lag is definitely something you can criticize the game about, because lag in general, not fun to play with.
No, I do think that that is a legitimate criticism. Like, I mean, when you think about how there are even sometimes like latency issues, I know Warzone on release was having some of those, but I think it's fixable. Um, I just don't know if what are really the limitations of the Switch models that we have.
Exactly.
I didn't
Yeah.
know this, but I was just looking it up that there are no internal spec differences between the Switch and the Switch OLED. It's
Yeah,
just
there are
the
none.
display screen.
Yep.
So that feels like kind of an unfortunate miss, I guess, but even like what about the Switch Lite then? I think maybe it's just the docking mechanic that might be different, but
Yeah, I looked this up recently because I
I
was like,
don't
I
know.
kind of want a new Switch because I don't know, I think my battery is like getting old. I bought my Switch near launch, and I think my battery is kind of getting there, which happens
Mine
with
did
all
too.
technology. And I'm like, oh, I'll upgrade to the OLED or the Lite or whatever. And yeah, it's literally just screen size. It's nothing to do with the GPU, CPU, or like RAM, or literally anything inside the console. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we are on the point where, maybe a new Switch comes out, and it just bolsters what the Switch already has, which has a lot of capability to display things. Oh, is all I'm saying. Like
Yes.
Breath of the Wild, beautiful game, absolutely beautiful game. And I also wonder if the Pokemon Company or like Game Freak were just trying to get this out too, into like, okay, we'll get it out, we'll patch it later, as long as it's like good before Christmas time, when to be fair, people are buying gifts now. We are in Christmas time pretty much, right? We're just before December. So
Yeah.
I'm curious if that was another kind of, we've got a crunch. If we get it out, we'll patch it. It'll be all good. People will be, the Timmies will be opening it at Christmas Day and getting their hands on it, and it'll be fluid from then. I'm kind of hoping on that. And at the end of the day, a patch can solve a lot of things. So it's all good. Yeah, so that's kind of the criticisms that we were kind of gonna cover, unless you can kind of think of anything else off the top of your head, because it's honestly just been a bit of like a little bit of lag, a little bit, a couple of glitches, but nothing like too like my Switch literally exploded, so
Yeah, it's not setting anything on fire. I mean, that's I think that's fine. I will say the Switch gets a little hot. I think it says a lot about how much processing power it's taking from the Switch to
mine gets
actually
hot
get
with
the game to
Unite,
run.
to be fair.
Yeah, I have felt a noticeable difference
Yeah,
between playing a different game on the Switch and
right.
playing Scarlet and Violet. So, just a heads up, I don't know if there's any differences in the inner parts of the Switch versus the Lite. That I don't
I would
know.
say no. I'm
I don't think
99.9%
so.
sure. Like, they're all the same. Under the hood, they're all the same. It's just like the docking mechanic and the OLED screen
Yeah.
is the difference. But yeah, getting hot, not the worst thing in the world, as long as it's not scorching to the touch. Like CPUs in general can run fairly hot. GPUs the same. Like the
Yeah,
Switch
it'll
has
be fine. It
fairly
can keep it
decent
hot.
ventilation as it is. So Yeah, it's not got what a lot of other handheld consoles have, which is a little fan on the top of that little heatsink poking out. So, yeah, so patches couldn't solve all the things. So hoping, by Christmas time, you're thinking they've released 1.1 or 1.2 or something just to kind of crank something out, get some performance stuff-wise sorted.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the storylines, because this is something that the Pokemon company, or like the Pokemon games, I will refer it to now, have not really done before. There's 3 storylines, and you can just do whatever you want, because normally it's one pretty linear one, which you go through,
Yeah.
you complete the badges, do the gyms, next route, next badge, next gym, league, and post game. Like, that's it. But like this one, completely different. Like, out of the box, like, boom, here's 3 storylines. Go. You play now.
Yeah. It's wild because so there's Victory Road, which is the gym badges. There's Starfall Street, which is defeating all of the Team Star bases. And there's also Path of Legends, which is fighting all of the Titan Pokemon. And they're all scattered throughout the map. They combine for a total of 18 badges, which I think is really unique as well because
It's cool.
there's one type of challenge, quote unquote, for every single typing of Pokemon. There are 18. So there's no repeats for the Team Star bases versus the Titans versus the gym badges. I think that's like a super neat feature of the game and just a really nice touch, on top of the fact that you can tackle them in any order that you want. And the story will adjust to what order you do them in. Like, if you and a friend are going to do a different Titan first, you'll still get the same story beat after defeating that first Titan. If that
Which is
makes
really
sense.
cool. It just gives the
Yeah.
player agency and just like, oh, you can just do whatever you want. And I think at this point in time, like this day and age, you probably could say like things like Sword and Shield are a little bit outdated in that way, because you look at like most other game. Yeah, although I'm thinking about it. No, you look at most other games, like comparing them to Pokemon. I'm trying to be as like harsh as possible on other games and like seeing how closely they kind of match up, but I can't really think of any. Like even things like, although these are huge games, I'm going to reference Cyberpunk again in the way that there is a main storyline, but there's also 3 main storylines in Cyberpunk. You can also do them whenever you want, and it kind of very much reminds me of that. You do the anything you want plus side missions. Like you can follow
Yes.
them as much as you like, and then I want to actually follow this story. Oh no, actually I want to do this story. And then it kind of, like you said, it does scale. There are things on the map that are scaled, but there are also things that are like way too difficult for you and you do need to level up, and that is also quite
Yeah.
cool. So there's still that level of progression because you need to level up to tackle X thing. So that is also pretty cool, and it's really bringing Pokemon into the modern era, which is great. And I think we got a taste of that with Arceus. Arceus is definitely one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. Hands down. A little bit monotonous and repetitive near the end when you're like doing all the different missions, collect this, catch this, whatever. But I still really enjoyed the entire thing.
I got very sidetracked. I actually never finished
Yeah,
Arceus, and in fact, in maybe
which is
one
a
of
good
my
thing. That's a good
yeah,
thing.
I don't think it was like the game for me, but Scarlet and Violet is more of what I wanted from Arceus. It's like the
Sure.
best of Arceus and the best of what you come to expect from a Pokemon game.
Yeah, which is great, because that's the only thing I was lacking in in Arceus was the battles. I wanted
Yes.
more battles in Arceus, because
Yeah.
when I did have them, I was like, this is so fun. Like the visuals and just everything about the battles in Arceus was awesome.
Mhm.
And you basically get that in Scarlet and Violet. Like I've watched 2 full playthroughs at this point of Scarlet and Violet, and it just kind of ticks all of those little boxes. And
Yeah.
man, when they do end up patching it to resolve those lag issues, to resolve textures and stuff like that, it is going to be one, well, probably the best Pokemon game in modern times. If you take your, rose tinted glasses off, and you
Yeah.
don't think about Gen 3, be me. And I think it's great to bring that into the modern era, and I think Pokemon are just stepping stepping forward into that. And I think in general, Nintendo has been a little bit behind of the times. And I wouldn't say that is like overarching to like every Nintendo property, but with Pokemon, they are just taking it head first. They're going in and saying, look, we're going to make a big open world game like The Witcher, like Cyberpunk, like whatever, but it's going to be Pokemon, which is fantastic. And getting rid of like random battles is, I'm not going to lie, I thought I'd miss that kind of thing. I don't at all. I actually much prefer this, that I can just see them. I don't have to run into them. And we actually, when did we first get that? Was it in Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee?
Yeah, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee were the first times that we saw Pokemon just appear in the overworld.
Yeah.
And like, that really did help.
Yeah, and it's sick because it also makes the world feel super alive, which is like...
It's very immersive.
You want from Pokemon. Like, Rose, you're probably the same as me and the same as people watching this. When you were a kid, you were watching the original series of Pokemon. Or like Orange Islands or whatever, you know, Johto Leagues, whatever. You were like, man, I want to be in that world. If only. And now you like get to live that because there are Pokemon like running around like there are in the anime. Like,
it's pretty amazing. I mean, I just think that like you really do get transported to what I think everybody's greatest Pokemon dream is, like to be a part of the universe. And I think maybe that's why like the lag and the other stuff does stick out a bit more because it does sort of take you out of that full immersive experience if you pay attention to it. But otherwise, like this really is like the game. I haven't been able to put it down. Let me just put it that way.
That's again definitely not a bad thing. Like, yeah, I've been traveling for the last, like, not traveling the whole time, but I've been in Korea for like 10 days and I've not played it yet. I'm going to sit down tomorrow and make sure I do. Been feeling a little bit under the weather, so it's the perfect kind of like sit down on the sofa kind of dealio. We will quickly get into some spoilers, I suppose. So if this is the point in the podcast, yep, spoiler alert, that you don't want to be a part of, that's completely fine. We're just going to go over some of the Pokemon that I've currently been seen. I'll give a quick scroll through. I'll point out a couple of ones that I've liked seeing in other people's playthroughs, and maybe you can kind of touch on your starter and who you've kind of found that you love. Wait, is my button not working? Oh, it does work. Okay, we're good. This is all on PokeBeach right now. They've got almost a full list. There's a few hidden spaces here and there, which people haven't discovered yet, or they haven't been out, or like whatever. But I guess my first question, Rose, which starter did you pick?
And why? I picked Sprigatito because it was the objectively correct decision.
Correct. Yeah. I never thought I'd actually, man, I just like all stars, especially with Gens 1, 2, and 3. But like, I never normally pick the grass starter unless it's like Bayleaf. Or not Bayleaf, Chikorita.
That's fair. That's a good choice.
Because Meganium's sick, but I was like, I've got to go with Grass Cat. There's no way you're catching me dead with Aqueduct. No, there's no way. There's no way. Grass Cat all the way. And the evolved form actually looks kind of goated. I'm not going to lie. Looks pretty sick.
I was really disappointed.
Really?
Okay, listen. I am just so tired of the bipedals.
Like, the humanoid.
They should have kept its 4 feet on the floor, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe like a grass Lipard, maybe something like that would have been kind of cool too. Yeah, they do end up just standing up. Yeah, I mean, at least
I don't
with
want that.
Yeah, I do completely understand it. I wasn't too, honestly, not bad. I'm gonna say it. I quite like it just because it's kind of like
growing on me.
Yeah, it's kind of like the cat memes, you know, when the cats stand up and they look kind of funny. Like, that's just kind of what it reminds me of, and I don't know why, especially the second form. But we did get Fire Crocodile, which is cool, and yeah, Fighting Waterbird, which also looks pretty sick. And I think in general, these are, at least over the last couple of generations, these are probably one of my favorite, like, final evolutions. I find it really hard to attach myself to a final evolution, but these ones actually look extremely unique. And I think they speak to a lot of different people, little subsets of people, which is great. You have the people that like birds, you have the people that like alligators, and the people that like cats. You know, those are the 3 groups of animals. So, yeah,
it's true. It is a good mixture of I think, creative Pokemon. I will say though, Fuecoco's final evolution kind of looks like a clown to me. Like, just a touch.
A clown. Oh, okay, no, no. I actually understand. No, I see it. Because it can't.
Now you see it, you can't unsee it.
It's the makeup, right? It's like the white clown makeup, and then it's also like
Yes,
the
the
weird hair.
hair.
Okay, I see it now. I will now never unsee. That is okay.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
that is
I'm
insane.
actually not sorry.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, I was never gonna pick that one anyway. All good. Crisis averted.
Now you
Also,
know.
I have a question. Why is
Okay.
Dunsparce this close to the first start of the Pokedex? What is going on? Dunsparce be like, no, it's my time to
Uh,
shine.
yeah, yikes. Well, another spoiler alert, it gets an evolution called the Dunsparce.
Oh, the Dunsparce. Interesting.
The Dunsparce.
Interesting.
That's very
We've
spicy.
actually seen a few of these already. Farafarig. No, Farafgarif.
For Rigoraph.
Oh my god. Farigarath. We covered that on a previous episode. Insanely cool looking Pokemon. Obviously,
Uh,
Wiglet. No further comment required. Wiglet. Yep, that exists. A lot of them are, again, quite. They are very unique. I feel like these are some of the most unique Pokemon we've seen in a long time.
yeah.
There was a line that I was really interested in. Yeah, the Minecraft line,
Oh,
Knuckle. But they look
Knackley.
like Knackly. They look like Geodes.
Well, they're rock salt. It's the rock
Yeah,
salt Pokemon.
yeah, which I
An
found really
ACL?
awesome. Oh yeah, NaCl. Yes, you're right. Rock salt. That makes a lot of sense. Brain has not caught up. Thankfully, you're here to give it a kick. I thought that was kind of a cool Pokemon. Just the base form.
Really cool.
I think it was pretty sick. There's a few other ones that we saw. Oh, okay. This is my like, what the hell is this?
Okay.
Brambling.
It's
Literally
a
just a bush of brambles. And I'm like, okay, I'm very familiar with that because I live in the
it's a
UK and there are bramble bushes
tumbleweed.
everywhere. Is it a
I
tumbleweed? It
think.
looks like a bump. It's a bramble, like as in a
What
bush.
the what is a bramble?
A bramble
Oh.
bush. It's a British thing, maybe then. A
I
bramble
I'm
bush
not
is
gonna
just
lie, it
a
kind
bunch
of
of
to me looked like
spikies.
a World of Warcraft plant.
Ooh,
Like
no.
a harvestable WoW
You're
plant.
not wrong. You're actually so not wrong. I see it. I
Yeah.
see that. Okay. No, I like that.
It looks like that to me. It
But
also
I'm
I don't know, maybe a
a
bramble is like
bramble
a
bush.
thing? Oh,
It's
that's
a
a real
like
thing?
well, you call them a bramble bush. They're just a bushes that are full of like plants that are spiky, basically.
Oh, I see your
Yes.
point. Oh, so
Yeah.
like I see. So like a blackberry is a
A blackberry
bramble.
bush. Yeah, a bramble bush. Yeah, it's just like, yeah, you'd say it's a bramble bush if it's a bush with loads of spikes in it. Man, that sounds so British. And I'm like, that's normal. And you're like, what? But yeah, I guess that is quite interesting. Oh, they also, so this is something else that I did really enjoy too. A lot
Mhm.
of Pokemon they don't seem to get a lot of love. Have now got not like Hisuian forms, which we did see a whole lot of in Arceus, but Great Tusk, for example, which is amazing. The Phanpy line, which is cool. Like, who'd really expect that to be another form? Or like, you know, Donphan getting an evolution kind of thing, which I thought was really cool. But they're also giving Pokemon now 2 names instead of just like, oh, Donphan into whatever. It's Great Tusk, Brute Bonnet, Fluttermane for Mischievous, etc.
Yeah, so this is part of a new grouping of Pokemon called Paradox Pokemon. And I actually haven't gotten far enough in the game yet to understand how this phenomenon works. But essentially, there's a set of Paradox Pokemon for Violet and a different set for Scarlet. And I believe
Got
that
ya.
the like
Okay.
iron ones, like Iron Treads Bundle, I think those come from
Oh.
Scarlet. And I believe that the other set is from Violet, but I can't quite remember, like,
Wouldn't
how that
Violet be
works.
the iron Pokemon because they're more futuristic? and
honestly
then
couldn't
Scarlet.
tell you. I
Okay,
really don't know.
that's fine. That's fine. But it is
I
quite cool, again, getting different forms of Pokemon we've not seen in a while. Like, who remembers Makahita? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
Makahita,
so
not a
true.
Pokemon we see like a ton of, but... Well, actually, did we see it in Sword and Shield? I can't really remember. But it's not a Pokemon that sticks out in everybody's heads. It's like, oh, name like a fighting Pokemon. People are going to say Machamp or something, you
Oh,
know?
you're right, by the
But
way.
like, oh, I was right? Okay, good stuff. Because,
Yeah, iron
yeah.
comes from violet.
Okay, because I've got
Yeah.
Violet, so we're all good. And I really like the Iron Thorns, which is T-Tar, which is great. Another one is like Delibird too, Iron Bundle, which is quite sick. A lot of Pokemon that haven't got a lot of love in the past, so that is great. I will point out, by the way, Ancient Suicune, where? I've got to know. I have to see it. It is question marked on Poke Beach right now, and I need it. I don't care what it looks like, but I need it.
That sounds like a leak.
Does
What?
it? Says Ancient
That sounds
Suicune
like
right
a
there.
leak.
And Future
That
Virizion. Oh, okay, okay.
ah, is that no shot? What is that? Oh,
Okay.
that's a leak.
It's a leak? Okay. Well,
Yeah,
there we go. You heard it here
think.
first, everybody. But you didn't at all. It's actually on Poker Beach, so we cannot
Yeah,
complain.
well, yeah, it's not us.
Police.
We aren't spreading it. It's just it exists. We've talked about it.
It exists.
But we'll move swiftly onwards because we don't
True.
share leaks here. Uh,
True. Okay.
uh,
Chiyu. I must have Chiyu. Another
yes,
another fish look Pokemon, but it's also dark and fire, which is quite cool.
I think Pao is very cute. It's a dark ice. Yeah. So there's these four Pokemon: Wo Pao, Ting and Chiyu, that are basically Pokemon. I think that you can encounter in the post game.
Hmm.
If you
Okay.
don't know how to get them yet, I'm gonna spoil it. You can there's a vault that is locked with chains over it, and you'll see it because it's glowing in different areas by Area Zero, the giant crater in the middle of the map. And there
Okay.
will be glowing stakes that are the same color as the vault that you're trying to open. So there's 8, you have to find them
Ooh.
all, they'll crumble, and then the vault will appear.
Interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Sounds like there's a lot to do in the post game, which is obviously a good thing. You need
Yeah.
stuff to do in the post game. Although the main storyline or the 3 storylines do sound very long. They sound like they're based on maybe Chinese mythology in some kind of way.
I
Um,
think so.
I'd have to look that up. Double check it. I'll double cross it. Make sure I'm getting that correct. But they look pretty damn epic. Oh yeah. Of course we got to talk about Wooper. Unbelievable Paludarian form.
So
Wooper, cute Pokemon anyway, but yeah, looks fantastic. King Gambit.
and
Uh,
Gambit,
oh my god, unbelievably cool looking Pokemon. It's like a Bisharp evolution,
it
which is
is.
sick. And then we get 3 forms of Tauros. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't think about these Pokemon a lot, I feel.
Yeah.
Annihilate as well, which is Primate, like a different form of Primate, which is pretty sick. And then Tentacle, who stands now, because why not, I guess.
Toad cool.
Toad
It's a
cool, yeah.
toadstool.
Which is really random, but again, another cool Pokemon that is not really well
It's a
thought
good
of.
one.
It's honestly fantastic. There's definitely a story behind these tales of the Tauros, 100% I feel, but I'm not entirely sure.
Probably.
There's also like a massive page on the stats here as well. I'm not obviously going to go through it all, and there's a ton of abilities, a ton of new attacks and items, and oh my
Oh my
god.
god, it's
And the version's
overwhelming.
exclusives here as well. I'll put the link down in the description as always. But I'm super looking forward to actually getting stuck into the game. What is your favorite? You said you haven't completed it yet, right?
I haven't finished the whole game, but I'm getting
Right.
close.
So what would you say right now is your favorite kind of storyline going
I
through? What
think
was your favorite thing to do?
my personal favorite was the Titan Pokemon.
Okay.
I tried to do that one first only because it gives you access to the riding capabilities and the movement for Koraidon and Miraidon. As you like get through the Titans, they give you a different power, so you can get through the map way faster. There's also just a really interesting character development that happens during that story path that I completely fell in love with. So It's lots of twists and turns, lots of surprises, and also a lot of utility. Can't ask for much more than that.
Hmm. I mean, utility definitely, especially as the world is so expansive, it makes the most sense
Exactly.
to go for the utility first.
I just wanna zoom around the map.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. Like I said, I've watched a couple of playthroughs already. It is a little bit insane, like how quickly now you're just like, oh, you can fly. You know what I mean? Like you can just go do
Yeah.
this, which took a long time normally to go and do. It's like, oh, get these gym badges, complete this kind of like sub quest to get the
Yep.
TM, or like go trade someone for the TM, etc. So like giving the player a ability to fly or like move fast or whatever over this expansive world is really sick. It's good game design. Like you don't want to bog. It's like, oh, look at this giant world,
Yeah.
but you have to complete up until the point and then you can finally explore. Like it's just good game design to give that stuff straight away, and just let the player do whatever they want. So I'm really happy with the way they're taking the game in terms of like design and stuff too. It sometimes felt like meaningless hurdles, especially with fly to begin with, and to a lesser extent I guess the bike. So yeah, I'm not entirely against just getting something like that early. Yeah, it
There was
does.
actually just a cute little quick note.
Oh yeah.
Uh, the thing that you collect after you defeat the Titan Pokemon is called Herba Mystica, which
Okay.
if you shorten it is HM. Which if you think about it,
Oh.
every time you collect an Herba Mystica, you get a different type of movement ability. So it's
Oh.
really like teaching
Really? You're
your
just getting
Koraidon
the
or
HMs.
Miraidon in HM.
Interesting. Okay.
Food for thought.
Okay. Definitely
Saw that
planned.
the other day. Thought that was really cool.
No, that is actually pretty sweet. It seems like, yeah, it's still giving like homage to a lot of the old mechanics from previous
Yep,
games. That's pretty sick. I'm
exactly.
super looking forward to getting stuck in. What is your, actually, one final question before we do end up wrapping this up? What is your like number one, like we gotta have this in the game, like that can be updated, kind of patched in? If there was one, maybe quality of life, or like one feature
Oh,
you'd kind
oh,
of
oh, it
wish
did
you had.
some type I already know. Good,
You already
that's
know.
so
Okay, I
triggering.
like that. I like
Uh,
that.
some type of audio or visual cue for a shiny in the overworld. I
Ooh, good
like, it's
shout.
not there. It's not there.
Okay.
And there's it's twofold for me. On the one hand, I think it's really exciting that you wouldn't see a normal indicator if you were immersed in the world except for the coloration of the Pokemon, and you'd be like, "Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that's odd." It wouldn't, like, scream and shout at you like, "Hey, I'm
Mm.
shiny. Like, come look at me." As much as you would hope so. But for people that are visually impaired, colorblind, or just you might just be whizzing past it and you just don't see it. I at
Yeah.
least think that there should be some type of like maybe some cue. Anything, just a tiny thing, maybe it outlines a little bit. Um
That wouldn't be
I
bad.
just I ran into two shinies that didn't know were shiny during my playthrough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's why I know that that would be helpful.
that would be, yeah, something on the HUD or like something. It's like, boop. Oh, there's a special
And
Pokemon. Like, what's that over there? Kind of thing, like
yeah,
just your character gives an indication of like they've seen something kind of crazy, which a shiny is kind of crazy. Because I've
like some
seen,
of them are different.
yeah, some of them aren't that different. Like shade changes, and you're like, okay, I can't tell. But then the evolution changes, Like, a good example of this,
Yes.
actually, maybe not the best example, would be Charmander, where, like, he's just, like, a lighter shade of orange, or, like, yellowy orange kind of thing.
Yeah.
Same with
Yeah.
Charmeleon, but then Charizard's like, whoa, okay, this is really sick.
Or
Like,
like
Black Charizard, Dark
Ghastly.
Charizard kind of thing.
Ghastly is like shades
Oh,
darker.
yeah! You're
It's
right!
like actually no
You're
difference.
like, wait, what? Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. Yeah,
Or like
that
I caught a
is a good shout.
Smoliv. It's
Oh, okay.
tiny. That thing is tiny on
Oh,
the
yeah, you just wouldn't
overworld
know.
map.
You just
You
couldn't see
wouldn't
it.
know except for like the only difference is that the shiny has a black pit or a black olive on its head, and the
Oh,
normal Smoliv has a
it's like a
green
green
olive on
one.
its head.
Yeah, okay. Also, that's kind of
It's
cool,
like
actually. The black and the green olive. I like that.
it's pretty
Um,
cute, but
that is,
it's
yes, that's
still
kind of
hard to
annoying.
see.
Yeah. And, like, I did see on Twitter, there is a counter for, like, how many shinies you've encountered, right? Um,
Yes, that
and,
can
like,
go up. without you
Yeah,
actually seeing one, like, face
exactly.
to
So,
face.
because they're so rare, you're like, oh yeah, no, I've got like, say for example, you played it, a few hundred hours or whatever. You're like, oh, I've encountered 2 shinies. Woohoo! I've got 2 shinies, kind of thing, and you're like showing your friends or whatever. And then you
Yeah.
find out that you've encountered 3 or 4, and you're like, huh? Like, where did they go? Like you'd get so scared. Like you've clearly missed them. Although I've heard that they do count evolutions. So if you find like a shiny Ghastly and evolve into a Haunter, that's 2, not just 1.
Yeah,
So
oh, yeah, that does make sense.
it
But
makes
yeah,
sense.
it's
But like you'd still, if you went up like considerable amounts, you'd be like, okay, I've just missed like 2 shinies. Like what the hell? I didn't see him. So that's actually
yeah,
a
or like Tadbolt
pretty
is
smart
really
mechanic.
not that different.
Okay.
It's the same yellow bulb, but you gotta look at the tail. And it's like, okay, but it's like orange versus red, and like if you're colorblind, you're not seeing that. Or if it's like a specific time in the day-night cycle, I just don't know
How?
how you see that.
You're just like, well, GG, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I guess I missed it. Yeah, that does suck. That does suck. So that's actually a good feature. There you go. That's perfect. Right. That is going to be it for the episode. I'm looking forward to jumping straight into it. I'm not going to lie. It sounds like an absolute banger. Yeah, that'll be my tomorrow. I've been quite busy today, so busy and also recovering. Still a little bit sick, but all good. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you're enjoying Scarlet and Violet. We're going to be taking not a break. We're both a little busy. Obviously, it's the holidays, right? I'm flying to go see my parents soon, so yeah, I'm going to be going to seeing them. So and obviously Rose, you're going to be doing all sorts, so that's going to be a good time as well. So not the biggest break in the world, but we'll try and get some news to you before Christmas time. But other than that, take care, and yeah, we'll see you both. We'll see you guys soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.